Hello guys, my name is Michael, and today we are going to continue with another tutorial, the second tutorial of our GTK radio button, and we are going to learn how to use new functions which we can apply them on this button, radio button. And of course, before we proceed, I made some changes, which means I dropped the other two radio buttons. I let only one, this one. So let me run the program. As you can see, we have only this button now, because we need to create or let's say we need to concentrate us on another three functions today. So basically we are learning those three functions, and now we are going to learn these three functions too. Let's see what the manual says about these three functions. The first one is GTKRadioButton new from widget, which we have it already here, and says creates a new GTK radio button, adding it to the same group as radio group member. As with GTK radio button new, a widget should be packed into the radio button. Okay, we know that. So the parameter is a radio group member, an existing radio group button. What this means? Let's go a little bit up here to the first function, which we already learned in the last tutorial. It says creates a new radio button to be of any practical value. A widget should be then be packed into the radio button, and here says an existing radio button group, if there is one. If it's not, then null, and if we pass null like we did in our last video, then it will be created a new one for us. So basically glib will do it for us. Okay, so now that we know how this function works, let's see how we are using it. So let's create create a new radio button, and that being said, we are going to create one GTK widget. Let's call it new radio button. Okay, now we are going to point it to this function. So new radio button will be pointed to this function, which is radio button new from widget. And as we already saw here, the function says takes a radio group member, that which is of course of GTK radio button type, but our type is widget. So as you already know, or maybe already noticed, GTK radio button cast is needed. So that being said, we are going to pass this time our first radio button, which we were creating it, and then we are going to attach it to our grid. At this time, 0 left, 1 top. Okay, new set but not used, and this because we need to pass our new radio button. And now watch, now we have two buttons. The first one is the old one, which we created in the last video, and this is the new one. Watch what happens now when I click here. As you can probably already noticed, it is not selected like in the last video where we were creating three different buttons and all those three were selected. This one is a little bit special because this one this time is connected to this one. What this means is that once that I will click here, it should deselect this one and it should select this one. You see? So basically this is what I was talking about. And of course now, because I'm here, when I hit Alt, and as you can see our mnemonic is here, when I hit now C, it should select the top one. You see, it works fine. So this means basically how you are creating new button with GTK radio button new from widget. Okay, that being said, we are done with this function. Let's move on to the next one, which is GTK radio button new label from widget. and the function is right here, GTK radio button new with label from widget, which is also a function which has a widget and takes two parameters. Says create a newly GTK radio button with a new text label, adding to it to the same group as radio group member. So basically it is the same like this one, but this time with a name. So what we have here, we have those two parameters. The first one is the widget to get the radio group from or null if we don't need it, and of course the label. So let's see. Let's call this function. Let's create another new button, which will be this time 2, and then we are going to create another radio button, and we are going to set this time new radio button 2. We are pointed to this function, which takes two parameters. The first one is our the first one is the group, so I'm going to use this one, GTK radio button new, and then the second one, let's call it now click me, I don't know. And of course we are going to attach it to our grid. So this means the newly created button, it should be on left 0 top 2 this time. We have a problem here because it is expecting something and I don't see what exactly it is expecting for us. A GTK grid, so this is the first one, this is the second one, and then expecting before numeric constant 0. Okay, it is a little bit confusing with these warnings. As you can see, it is a comma missing here, but my compiler says it is expecting a parenthesis. So basically I forgot a comma here. Okay, and now as you can see we have 3 buttons, this one, and this one. You see how they are communicating together and so on. So basically we created 3 different buttons, and now the last one which we are going to use will be our GTK radio new with mnemonic from widget. What this means: GTK radio button new with mnemonic from widget. We already know what this means, because when we see mnemonic, basically what this means, it's changed the label to be a mnemonic label. So the mnemonic widget, so it creates a new GTK radio button containing a label. The label will be created using GTK label new with mnemonic, so this means it will be calling for us when we are calling this function. So underscores in label indicate the mnemonic for the button. Okay, the parameters are the groups, and the group where should belong to, and the text should be the label with the underscore. Okay, so that being said, let's call this function. Let's create another button. Let's call it this time 3, and then we are going to say new radio button 3. We are pointing to this function, and of course I'm going to copy this part here because I don't want to write again, and this is a mnemonic button, I will call it. So that being said, I will use underscore here. This is a mnemonic button. Of course we are going to attach it to our grid. So the first one is our grid, the second one is the radio 3, and now we are going to put it on the left 0 top 3. Okay, we need a semicolon. This time expecting a semicolon before GTK. Okay, so this time the compiler noticed which was the real mistake, and as you can see we have now 4 radio buttons which they are working fine, and of course we can now communicate I'm talking now German, between this one and this one using mnemonics. So this means this one is C and this one is T. Let's see. I'm gonna hit now T and now C back, and as you can see I can communicate with them using those mnemonics, which means that they are working fine. So basically this is the way how you create these buttons from widget, and this is the way how it works those 3 functions. One very important thing, maybe you notice here that I was using different groups. Like for example here when we were creating the button I said new radio button, new radio button, new radio button. Basically it is not important which one you are passing here, as long as they are all belong to the same group. So this means, watch, I'm going to use this one here, and I'm going to use radio to a new radio, or let me do it a little bit. Let me take the 2 here, and here we have the radio button. So basically we said new radio belongs to radio button, new radio button 2 belongs to new radio button, and not to radio button like this one belongs. And then we said new radio button 3 belongs to new radio button 2. So basically it's not important what are you passing here, as long as all of them they are living in the same group, or if they are finding in the same group. This means you can use all over the same one. You see, like here, which is probably is better because of let's say it is much easier to find out where and from where they are coming those buttons and which groups they are belonging. So maybe if you create a radio button which has its own group, after that all other radio buttons which you are creating them, if they has to belong to the radio group, then maybe it's better if you pass the same radio button in all those function callings. So this means sorry, I hit the wrong button. So this means radio button should be enough for you, but I just wanted to show you and to explain you that it is not important which kind of parameter you're passing here. See, I'm passing now new radio button 2 and it works fine. Why? Because new radio button 2 is a button which we are creating from another group which belongs to radio button. So basically this one belongs to this one. But like I said, just for a better readable code, maybe it will be a bad idea if you use the same parameter everywhere in your code. So that being said, today we learned 3 new functions. We saw how we can apply them. We saw which is the main difference between the other 3 here. You know, and I will say it again, if you call these 3 functions, it is only good if you call it one time, one from them, just to create a group, or let glib to create it for you if you pass null. And once that you decide which one you need it, then you call one of these 3 functions again and again and again, and you will pass the group here of the radio button which you created with one of the 3 functions, and then you use the same group until you're done with your groups and so on. So that being said, this is the way how you work with these functions. In the next tutorial we are going to talk new things about setters, getters and join group, which are also very important, and you will see how you can work with these functions too. Okay, so that being said, I think we covered everything. Thank you guys for watching, and if you like it, please subscribe, leave a comment, share with your friends and neighbors, and until next time, see you guys.